So Ethereum to $100,000 by next week.
So
Is that did I see that right?
if that happens, then I'm gonna tattoo Ethereum right in my head here.
That's funny.
BitSwap is the hottest new way to trade tokens. Crawling all the top decentralized exchanges, BitSwap will get you the very best price and value for your trades. BitSwap is changing the game. Try it now at bitswapdex.com. Welcome to BitBoy Crypto, the largest crypto channel in all the interwebs. My name is Ben. Every day on this channel, I show you how to make money in cryptocurrency. If you like money in crypto, make sure to hit that subscribe button. Also, guys, don't forget your chance to win a full Bitcoin down below in the video description. As we approach 1 million subscribers, we're getting there very soon. Today, I brought on Carl from the Moon to discuss the prospects for Ethereum. Are we looking at a $3,000 to $4,000 Ethereum by next week? That's potentially what he sees in the charts. We're also going to take a look at Bitcoin and see what it is doing, as it seems to be quite indecisive at the moment. Now, if at any point during this video you want to take advantage of any information or trading information or any of our trading targets, you can head on over to bitboycrypto.com/deals and head down to the Bybit section, sign up for a Bybit account, and trade Bitcoin or Ethereum on leverage. All right, guys, let's go ahead and jump into the interview.
Hey, everybody. I'm joined this Thursday, as always, with Carl from the Moon on YouTube. Make sure to go subscribe to his channel if you haven't already. I know most of you guys probably already are. Ethereum is pumping. Bitcoin seems to be indecisive. I got to go straight to Carl, the expert on the charts, to find out what's going on. But first and foremost, how are you doing today, Carl?
I'm doing fantastic. I think in a bull market, we're all doing fine. We're all doing well. We have to remember to take profits, obviously, but I'm doing well. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. ETH is pumping, and we love that. We hit 2,500 a couple weeks ago. Now we're moving closer to 3,000. I want to know on the charts, what are you seeing? Let's talk Ethereum first, and at the end, we're going to kind of look at Bitcoin.
Yep, let's get right into the charts. All right, so what I'm seeing right now for Ethereum is the fact that we have been forming a big pattern here that we definitely could say resembles a rising wedge, right? And well, a rising wedge is technically a bearish pattern, but this pattern has or is right now in the process of potentially breaking to the upside. So what does that mean? Well, let me just take a look at this. So you can see that we've connected here this line with this top right there, this top, and this top. So this is definitely a valid resistance because we have a clear resistance line there, and then we have this support line right there. So we are breaking to the upside. We're not getting the volume that I would like to see when we break out. What I would like to see is like a big 4-hour candle, a sharp uptrend here with a nice volume like increase here. If that happens, then I think that the bullishness on Ethereum will increase into much more bullish, because in that case we're seeing essentially breakout. Now the targets, you could make the case that the target could be something like this. Obviously when you're trading at all-time highs, it's hard to find like perfect targets,
right?
But I think we could see something like $3.5 thousand for Ethereum, but more conservatively maybe up to retest 3K in the next like 3-4 days if we do see this breakout. We also have this double bottom pattern forming, or that formed. We already arguably broke above it right here. And if you put a neckline like this, maybe a little bit tilted to the upside, you can see that the target here should be approximately $3,200 approximately. So I guess I am bullish on Ethereum, but I do want to see this clean break before I call this next big leg to the upside, because I'm not confident that we are seeing the breakout, because we've seen several times here. Look, we broke into all-time highs right there, but then we corrected. All-time high, corrected. We are at all-time highs. We could get a small correction here before we potentially go higher, or maybe even see this scenario, because remember, we are in a rising wedge. It is a bearish pattern. So and that's important when you're trading. You want to make sure that it's a confirmed breakout before you do anything at all. And we can actually go into the 1 hour, because on the 1 hour we are also seeing potentially another small rising wedge here. like so. But yeah, anything on the 1 hour doesn't really have any bigger impact on the bigger time frame. So this doesn't mean that Ethereum is going to do this, but it could mean that we might see a small pullback here before we potentially head higher. The target in the rising wedge is the bottom of the wedge. So if we were to break down here, we could retest 2,560. That's what I'm seeing here. And if we break to the upside, then yeah, that could maybe be the trigger that is needed for us to see the bigger rising wedge resolve to the upside. So that's why I think that the smaller timeframes can be very interesting to look at, because sometimes they can trigger the bigger timeframes to break out, or whatever you want to say.
Yeah.
So I guess that's my quick Ethereum analysis for you right there.
So Ethereum to $100,000 by next week. Is
Uh,
that did I see that right?
so if that happens, then I'm gonna tattoo Ethereum right in my head here.
That's funny. That's funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty excited right now. I mean, looking at the chart, it looks like it is breaking out above the resistance line. Of course, everybody knows eventually resistance turns into support, support turns into resistance, yada, yada, yada. So if we are in fact breaking out above this, I think you're right. I do think we will see a giant candle to the upside at some point. Not sure what will, be the catalyst to do that. That's definitely something that I'm looking for. So I think Ethereum, if I was looking at those targets correctly, somewhere between $3,000 to $3,500 over the next few weeks is extremely possible. And we've kind of been around this $2,500 to $3,000 range for, so long, where that was the target. Not necessarily, we haven't been there for that long, but, I was obviously talking about $2,500 back in January. It took us this long to get here. So I don't know what the kind of next lines will be, the next numbers we'll be looking at, like when could we be looking at 4,000 or 5,000 or $6,000? But I think a lot is going to be determined by what we see this week on how much of a breakout we can get volume wise. So, but let's touch on Bitcoin right now, because Bitcoin to me is being very indecisive. Last night we got the news that Facebook did not in fact buy Bitcoin, that was just a gigantic rumor, and Bitcoin dumped a little bit because of it. But it held pretty tough, and right now it's right back, around $54,500. And we're trying to figure out where is it going to go from here. So, what are you seeing with Bitcoin in the short term?
Yep. Well, first of all, I guess I wanted to start off on the bigger time frame to kind of then go into the smaller time frame. If we look at one of my favorite indicators, the EMA ribbon, we can see that on the weekly time frame, we're still clearly bullish. We're in a bull market on the weekly time frame because we are way above the weekly ribbon. We can even go all the way down to $30,000 and still technically be in a bull market on the weekly time frame, in my opinion. Going into the daily, however, we did actually break down below the ribbon. So we are right now below resistance, and technically this is bearish, right? We are technically in a bear market on the daily because we're below the ribbon, and you can see that this ribbon is right now at 55K, approximately 55.5. So in fact, I'm gonna have to remain bearish on Bitcoin on the daily time frame until we break back above 55.5K with a clear daily close and some healthy volume to back that up. Yeah, so if we get a rejection off of the daily here, then this could mean bad news for Bitcoin. However, if we break above this, then I think we could see a huge pump, because usually when we see the ribbon like this get a support, we see a big pump. Here we saw a bounce, big pump, bounce, big pump. So I think if we get back above the ribbon, we could see a big pump, and quite likely above the all-time high, because that happened every time here. All-time high, all-time high, all-time high. We could see another all-time high if that happens. So that's why Bitcoin is right now at a very, very critical point. Very critical. And this is not a scenario where I'm saying it's going to go up or down. This is what I'm saying is that if we break this level, then we are going to go up, and very, very sharp, in my opinion. However, if we get the rejection, then in my opinion, it is very likely that we are going to see at least consolidation like this, but actually quite possibly a bigger correction, maybe down to retest some critical support at $40,000 on the daily time frame. So let's go to the 4-hourly, because on the 4-hour, according to my EMA ribbon here, we are bullish, and I flipped bullish right there. Actually, I flipped bearish up here, and I was bearish here, and even actually everyone who's a subscriber of my channel, you guys know that I put in a short right here.
Yep.
And I made a short position down here, took some profits, but I did flip bullish on Bitcoin after the fact, and I'm still bullish on the 4-hour. So this is the thing. You can be bullish on the weekly, bearish on the daily, bullish on the 4-hour, because it's all different time frames.
Yeah.
And you always have to take a look at the different time frames, because it's just it can be the case that you are bullish and bearish on different time frames. And on the 4-hourly, I am actually bullish as long as we're above this ribbon, which is situated right now at $54,000. I would say 53.9 approximately. So if we hold above here, I remain bullish on the 4-hour. And if I just put a line right here, then we can clearly see that we had support right there, support right there, support right there. And right now we're getting supported by this level. And this is the $54.2 thousand level. Quite obviously a very important level. So I think it's quite easy. If we break below 54,000, 54.2 and the 4-hour ribbon, then it is very, very possible and even very likely that we are going to see a correction. And in that case, I would be looking out for kind of the $50,000 level.
Yeah. So you said you're right now, it seemed to be bullish. It's above the EMA ribbon. So you said 54,200 is like a really strong level of support. So of course, nothing we say on here is financial advice, but if you could get a long end, maybe somewhere around that $54,300 level, $200 level, and then have a tight stop loss, then that could have a lot of upside, I would think.
You can make that case. Absolutely. You can make the case that this could be a trade. And let's look for a target in that case. And in that case, I would look for this point as my target. That's actually the target that I've been talking about. This one, and also you can make the case for this level. So we have two different targets. We have 57.2, very important target, because it is the target out of the diamond pattern that we traded over on my channel. And also there's this potential bump and run pattern here where we have this bump and then we see this run. You know what, sorry, I put this a little bit different, wrong, like this, and we broke through this bump and run right here. And long story short, the target out of these two patterns is 57.2 approximately, which lines up nicely with this support and resistance level. But up here we have clear resistance at 59.4 or 59.5. So anyone who is in a long right now, I would take some profits right here, and I would take some profits up here. If we break down below these levels, I would exit my position and I would revert into a short. And I am in the long position. So actually what I said now is my strategy. That's what I'm going to do. So there you go.
Yeah, personally, I would be looking to take a lot more profit around the $57,200 level, because I think we're going to get a red monthly candle. So if we get to 59,000 by the end of this month, which is, tomorrow, maybe, I guess, then, that would give us a green candle for the month. And I don't think we actually want that. I think we want a little bit of a breather candle here to get ready for the next run up. But Carl, as always, thank you for coming on the show today. Your insight is phenomenal. You're right. I actually watched your video on Sunday where you were talking about that trade that you had made where you had shorted, and then, eventually you reversed it. And so it played out exactly as you predicted. So, I got to sneak that in. But Carl, thanks so much for joining us. Anything you want to leave us with today?
Thank you so much for having me on the channel. I think that we're bullish. I mean, on the weekly, I think that we should all know that even if I'm shorting or if I'm bearish on the 4-hour, the 1-hour, or the daily, like, I'm still in it for the long term. Some people, they call me out as being too bearish and I'm the perma bear, but I'm just trying to be objective. I just want to be objective, and we can make money when Bitcoin goes up, and we can make money when Bitcoin goes down. And I think that that's important to remember. And also I want everyone to know that I'm not trading with my hodl portfolio. Right. My hodl portfolio, I hold for the long term. I don't sell a single Bitcoin just because we're seeing a correction on the 4 hour. I would make a trade, but I'm not touching my I wouldn't do spot trading. I'm not using my portfolio for that. So I'm in it for the long term, just like everyone else here. Bitcoin to the moon. And yeah, thank you for having me on the channel.
Absolutely. And that was great advice. I definitely agree with you. Keep your trading portfolio separately from your HODL portfolio. So, all right, everybody, make sure go subscribe to Carl's channel. It's down below in the video description. And make sure to drop some comments down below. Let us know where you think Bitcoin is going. If you're going to take this trade, let us know. That's all I got. Be blessed. Good boy out.